I'm Pat Cruz, and I'm the director here. And I work with all of these fabulous people, and I get a chance to see wonderful work as it is coming right out of the canal, and that is a great thing for me, a privilege for me, and an honor to have this as my job. As one of my nieces said, who was here last, we were here for the tribe events, and she said, "You call this work?" Okay, fine. But we do work hard. But we have a good time also. We are about to celebrate our 30th anniversary, and one of the things that we're doing this season is E-Moves, and we've done this for 15 years now, I think. And it's one of the proudest things that we do because it is most representative of our programming objective, in that we bring new artists, emerging artists into the field, give them recognition, and these are artists of color who might not have gotten that recognition elsewhere in this country or in New York. And we have been able to identify these artists early in their careers and see their development, expose their work to audiences, get feedback now from mentors, so that we really can see a process of evolution, which is what art is about. It's like anything else. It has to be fed, it has to grow and develop into a fully fledged art form by a fully fledged and mature artist. And one of the things that we found is artists are in a constant state of growth. So this program has evolved also to present emerging artists and evolving artists and established choreographers who are setting their work on various dancers. So this year we have a great lineup of over 12 artists who will be seen over 2 weekends in 4 different programs. So it's an amazing program that was actually created by our Director of Programming, Brad Lehrmonth, and more he has been able to give over the development of this project and the nurturing of it to Simone Eccleston, who is our Assistant Director of Programming now. And we're even working with another younger associate who's come into the program, who is taking over much of the administration of this program. So as the artists grow, so does Harlem Stage as an organization. So it's a fine way to celebrate our 30th. And we hope that you and all of the people who are looking at this will come out and see us. I'd love to speak to you about the 13-year history of this program, because it did begin with the identification of a small group of artists that we knew, and artists who knew artists, that kind of thing. And then what has happened is it's become more formal, just as anything that get some maturity on it. You look at process a little bit more. So we have gone out and linked it actually to a program called Fund for New Work, in which some of these artists are actually commissioned and given some support in the development of their work, which is very important. So that's one of the evolutionary stages. We've now also have an application process for Fund for New Work. And one of the other big innovations that we've put in place over the last 2 years is that more senior choreographers, more established choreographers are matched with the young emerging choreographers and serve as their mentors. So they're actually meeting with them, discussing the work's intent, observing rehearsals, commenting on the work, giving the kind of feedback that artists require. You can't make art in a vacuum, especially performing art. If you're a visual artist, you can be in a studio and work, and the work is not seen until you come out and bring it out of that studio. But this is a different process. So it benefits from this mentoring project. And that's one of, I think, our proudest activities. Charmaine Warren is a co-curator on this project, and she's been a wonderful force to really help Brad and Simone as they've developed it. And the most recent things that they've done is all of the artists in the program have showings of their work in front of all the mentors and the other artists. So their work is being seen by other professionals. And that is a great thing. So it's not just one-on-one. There's the one-on-one process with the mentors. And then there's a more open process in which the work is seen. And there's a real critique. And they're asking questions. They're saying, well, why did you make this choice? Why did you make that choice? And that's not so clear to me as the viewer. So that within that process, you learn more. Because we were talking here that all dancers are not choreographers. And while most choreographers started out as dancers, it's a different discipline. And it involves a different element of design, conceptualization, all of those things that go into really making a dance. So over the next 4 nights, we will see what the results of that process are. And we continue to grow the program in those kinds of ways.
The future of dance, which seems to be going towards, the avant-garde. I saw Alvin Ailey and Director of Harlem recently, and so much of their new work
is from emerging artists.
Yes.
Without a doubt, or artists who were here. Camille Brown was one of her first commissions she did here, and she was among the emerging and then the evolving artist who was presented here. And now she's setting works for Alvin Ailey and her own company now. So you really see that. I think that in terms of our bringing our audiences into this process, and it has been that, because what we find is that that our community has been a fairly conservative one in terms of the forms that we have seen. You're right, seeing ballet from the Dance Theater of Harlem was a way to understand and get engaged in ballet. Seeing Alvin Ailey was a way to get involved in modern. And it was something that especially the African American and the Latino communities could relate to, because the dancers themselves and the creators were also people of color. Now what you see is that artists who are doing more adventurous work, and I think some of our first entree into that was through working with Bill T. Jones. And when we first did it, a lot of people said, well, what are you doing bringing that downtown art uptown, And we were going, wait a minute, there's no kind of geographical boundary that says this is downtown and this is uptown. We feel like one of the things that we've done as an art institution is allow the artists to make claim to whatever expression they want to make. We don't feel that they have to be bound by a definition of race or an aesthetic that is racial. They can grow out of their own cultural experience, and their growth, which is without boundaries, is what allows us to grow and connect to the world. So now we have Asian artists here, we have Latino artists here, we have African American artists here, and they all share common vocabularies, but they can go on their own path. And that is what is so incredibly rewarding about all the work that we do. So it's been quite a wonderful journey. I think that for me, the kind of last comment is that E-Moves is emblematic of all the work that we do. So that whether we're doing music, as we're about to do with the Harlem Jazz Shrines, we're going to be celebrating Cecil Taylor in May, and we'll have a number of artists who are playing his music, and then he'll be playing here in a very rare performance in the States. And he's one of the people who absolutely, one of the artists, a genius who defied categorization. And he expressed himself in the way that he did, but understanding the full richness that existed within the world of black music. So for me, E-Moves is like our music programs, Harlem Stride, like the film programs that we do. All of those programs have the same basic principle that allows that kind of freedom, and that all of us, as people who are not necessarily creators, can understand and become a part of the creative process as we witness it, as we ask questions about it, as we engage with it. One of the joys of our work now is we're about to celebrate our 30th anniversary, and we will begin that in July of this year, 2012, and it will go for a year and a half. And during that period, we will be premiering 4 of our Waterworks commissions. Waterworks is one of those programs that we created when we moved into the Gatehouse, and it was designed to support major works of art. And by that I mean large pieces that require some substantial development, and most of the works that we're presenting and premiering in 2013 and beyond will be works that have been in development for 2 to 3 years. So we'll begin with a work called Holding It Down by Mike Ladd and Vijay Iyer. And that work will be on the dreams of veterans of the Afghani and Iraqi wars, dreams of the veterans of color who were engaged in those conflicts and their dreams. We're going to follow that with a piece called Sleep Songs, which is a French development of that work that will involve Iraqi poets and musicians as well. Then we'll move into a work that we're doing with the I.O. Jackson, who's a choreographer, who's working on a piece called We Insist, and that is a piece based on Max Roach with Abby Lincoln that was in celebration of the Emancipation Proclamation. The third work that we will be premiering is a piece by Kyle Abraham called Boys in the Hood. It's taken from the film, and we'll be really looking at the black male in our society and in our communities and how they have developed and the kind of intersection of those two things. We will conclude the 30th anniversary with a major work that is by Carl Hancock Rux, and it's called Maken Doll, and it is on 18th century revolutionary figure who really did inspire the subsequent Haitian Revolution. And he was a martyr to that revolution, and he was an inspiration for people seeking freedom. And what Carl has done is a multi-layered piece which really looks at people who are trying to leave their places of birth in search for freedom. So they're leaving Haiti, they're leaving Dominican Republic, they're leaving Cuba, and they're looking for an ideal of freedom. And what it posits essentially is that all of us are looking for something that we consider freedom. And it's what does that quest lead us to? So it's a great way to celebrate 30 years with artists who have questioned who we are as a society, who we are as a people, and we feel that that's what great art can do and should do, and we're happy to present that during the 30th.